We are back with another hypothetical offseason. This one's going to contradict what we talked about last time with the Milwaukee Bucks, but today we're talking about the New York Knicks and what the Knicks need to do to get over the hump and become one of the elite teams in the Eastern Conference. And we're going to start it off by talking about Julius Randle. I'm a big fan of Julius Randle, but Julius Randle on the New York Knicks does not work. The way he plays, his play style, it doesn't really fit with Jalen Brunson. They made it work pretty well, able to get to the Eastern Conference semifinals, but they got absolutely destroyed by the Heat, a team that they had a decent chance to beat, with the Heat being an 8 seed. And they just the attitude of Julius Randle and the way that things turned out, I think it's time to move on. The fans clearly want it with their destroying of Julius Randle posters outside MSG. And even though I like Julius Randle, I think his time as a Knick is done. He's no longer the number one guy, and I think it's going to be hard for him to accept that. And I think the best move for him is going to be to go somewhere else where he's the clear number two, and it's not really a power struggle, because I think Julius Randle thinks he's better than Jalen Brunson and he should be the guy, but everybody else in the organization thinks Jalen Brunson's that guy, and Jalen Brunson proved to be that guy with the amazing postseason run that he had. I think the main reason for trading Julius Randle is his style of play. The way he plays just kind of doesn't flow with the rest of your offense. He's an ISO guy, but he's also mainly a power forward, and there's just not a lot at that position where they ISO. Julius Randle, he'll get his assists, but he never really gets a hockey assist, whereas Julius Randle passes to somebody else and then somebody else makes a nice play, because you just have a flowing offense going on. Julius Randle doesn't really do that. All of his scoring clips are kind of like isolations. He hits a lot of tough shots, which is why he's such a good player, but the tough shots don't really flow well, and if he's not hitting the tough shots, it's very tough for him to have a good game. Like we saw in the playoffs, where he had a couple bad games, and his shot selection is very questionable. But that's what he does. So when he's not hitting the shots, it makes you really wonder what his value as a player is. The moves I'm looking for the Knicks to make is to trade Julius Randle and trade Mitchell Robinson and build around your core of Jalen Brunson, R.J. Barrett, and Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley. The first move we're going to make is a three-team trade for the Trailblazers and the Chicago Bulls. We're going to bring in Nikola Vucevic to play our center, as we are moving Mitchell Robinson as our second trade. Bring in Vucevic, the way he plays, his shooting, and his just the way he flows the game. I think it works. The only way this trade doesn't work, in my opinion, is if the Bulls say no. I don't know how much they want Jeremy Grant, but I think Julius Randle to Portland makes more sense than sending Julius Randle just to the Bulls. But maybe the Bulls want Julius Randle. I think it works for all of the teams. I think Julius Randle and Damian Lillard would be a good 1-2 for Portland if they're going to go about that route, and then they can move the 3 pick later if they choose to build around Julius Randle and Damian Lillard and try to get Dame his championship in Portland. And I just think Vucevic makes so much sense for the Knicks, and maybe they don't have to include Portland and it's just a straight Vucevic for Randle swap. But the way Vucevic plays, his ability to pass, he plays good defense, his stretch the floor is a big. It's going to make this team a lot better than Mitchell Robinson standing in the paint with absolutely no ability to shoot. You add in Jalen Brunson and maybe some pick and rolls between Vucevic and Jalen Brunson, and that is a very good look. The main reason the Bulls didn't do well this season is because they didn't have a point guard. Vucevic is going to go to New York, where you have a point guard in Jalen Brunson. Vucevic just played the role where he's not the main guy, but he still can do his thing every now and then, and that's pretty much what you're going to be asking him to do in New York. You'd still rather have R.J. Barrett being the secondary option, and obviously Jalen Brunson as the main option, but Vucevic just seemed to be pretty content being the second option, and I think the Knicks have a much better future than the Bulls, so I'm sure Vucevic would be happy about that. We saw what Jalen Brunson did in the playoffs, and having him have a center that's going to help him space the floor and set good screens, as well as play good defense the way Mitchell Robinson would, is going to help out a lot. Knicks aren't going to have to worry about Mitchell Robinson throwing up line drives off the backboard when he's shooting free throws. Vucevic is a good free throw shooter. Vucevic can shoot threes, and that is something that the Knicks really haven't had in a long time. They have not had a big that's able to space the floor since Porzingis, and I think this is going to give them a good look with their team. Imagine, because R.J. Barrett's not the greatest three-point shooter, but he's going to have more driving lanes if you have a center that can shoot threes. Jalen Brunson, being an undersized guard, he's going to have more driving lanes. Manuel Quickley is going to have more driving lanes. Everybody's going to be able to get to the basket a lot easier without a center being there. And if the center comes around, Jared Allen comes off his Vucevic to come try to block your shot, you kick it out to Vucevic in the corner or on the wing, he's going to knock those threes down. That's equally as good a shot as a layup. If you're kicking out to Vucevic for three, he's going to shoot those pretty well, and it's going to help your team out a lot with the additional spacing. So now we traded for a center. What do we do with Mitchell Robinson? We're going to keep Isaiah Hartenstein as our backup center. He was very good this playoffs. We're going to trade Mitchell Robinson. We got to create the space. When you start thinking about what guys are available and what teams might want to swap and what move makes sense for the Knicks, it really comes clear that the only option is Golden State, but then it becomes what you want to get. Wiggins is the value isn't quite there for the Knicks to be able to pull off trading for Wiggins and not give any other core pieces. But Jordan Poole is a guy that's been talked about a lot in potential trade rumors, as we saw the way the Warriors season ended and the disagreements that he seems to be having with Draymond, with Steph Curry, and with Steve Kerr. So Jordan Poole likely on the move this offseason if the Warriors choose to stay with Draymond and Klay Thompson, as many expect they were, based off the comments what Steve Kerr said. And I think it makes sense for them to go get Mitchell Robinson and trade away Jordan Poole. Mitchell Robinson is definitely an upgrade from Kevon Looney. So getting Mitchell Robinson, you bring back Evan Fournier as an extra shooter to be off the bench. This is mainly to make the contracts work. That's why Ron Hollins, Patrick Baldwin are there. Knicks are giving up their own 2024 lottery protected first round pick, which will most likely be in the 20 range, as the Knicks will probably be in the same 4 or 5 range in the Eastern Conference again. And they just don't want a second round pick because I think that's how it works out. And we know what Jordan Poole is. He's got a very deep bag. But can he consistently have good games? Who knows? I think he would be electric in the Garden. We see him shooting from deep all the time. If you watch his highlights, like you see here, a lot of these are against very subpar teams. And we know we went off in the playoffs last year, but this year was much of a dud in the playoffs. So who knows where you're going to get? I think it makes sense as the Knicks because he can play the shooting guard. So you got Brunson at the 1, Jordan Poole at the 2, Randall at, or RJ Barrett at the 3, Vucevic at the 5, and maybe you can slide things around. You can either put Quentin Grimes in and move RJ to the 4, or you can run Obi Top in there, and that's basically your change of who's, if you want to have a smaller lineup or if you want to have a little bit of a bigger lineup. Those are the options you can do. Thibodeau will have fun playing on this. If you watch this highlights again, you'll see Jordan Poole make some decent defensive plays, so I don't think that'll be too big of an issue there. He's not a terrible defender. He's an athletic kid. It's really just his focus if you can control it all the time. And this is the wild card that the Knicks want to get them over the hump. And I think this trade makes sense. It makes a little bit less sense from the Warriors because maybe someone else is going to give him more for Jordan Poole, but he's got a big contract and he hasn't really proven to be worth it. And getting Mitchell Robinson is a decent return for them because it's someone that they will use. He can run picks all the time with Curry and Klay Thompson. We know how the Warriors run the offense, so getting a better center for them that doesn't really care to have the basketball is going to be a good move for the Warriors as well. And if you're the Knicks, I can't imagine why you'd say no to this deal. It gives you the option to, it really gives you a good potential. It may not work out, but it's you're taking a chance at becoming one of the better teams by adding players that could turn out to be stars, and that's what Jordan Poole is. We've seen him play really good. We've seen him play really bad, so hopefully the Knicks can get it right. I think he'd be a good guard with a good point guard and Jalen Brunson, and they'd be able to do what they want and maybe make it work. They still have Knicks would still have a good bench with Quickly and Grimes if you're not inserting him in the starting lineup, and they'll still have money to sign additional free agents, and I think it'd work out well for them.